We stepped into the cave, and Rachel said, "Oh, wow." The walls glittered with crystals, red, green, and blue. In the strange light, beautiful plants grew. Giant orchids, star-shaped flowers, vines bursting with orange and purple berries that crept among the crystals. The cave floor was covered with soft green moss. Overhead, the ceiling was higher than a cathedral, sparkling like a galaxy of stars. In the center of the cave stood a Roman-style bed, gilded wood shaped like a curly U, with velvet cushions. Animals lounged around it, but they were animals that shouldn't have been alive. There was a dodo bird, something that looked like a cross between a wolf and a tiger, a huge rodent like the mother of all guinea pigs, and roaming behind the bed, picking berries with its trunk, was a woolly mammoth. On the bed lay an old satyr. He watched us as we approached, his eyes blue as the sky. His curly hair was white, and so was his pointed beard. Even the goat fur on his legs was frosted with gray. His horns were enormous, glossy brown and curved. There was no way he could have hidden those under a hat the way Grover did. Around his neck hung a set of reed pipes. Grover fell to his knees in front of the bed. "Lord Pan!" The god smiled kindly, but there was sadness in his eyes.
"Grover, my dear brave satyr, I have waited a very long time for you."
"I got lost," Grover apologized. Pan laughed. It was a wonderful sound, like the first breeze of springtime, filling the whole cavern with hope. The tiger wolf sighed and rested his head on the god's knee. The dodo bird pecked affectionately at the god's hooves, making a strange sound in the back of its bill. I could swear it was humming "It's a Small World." Still, Pan looked tired. His whole form shimmered as if he were made of mist. I noticed my other friends were kneeling. They had odd looks on their faces. I got to my knees. "You have a humming dodo bird," I said stupidly. The god's eyes twinkled.
"Yes, that's Dee Dee, my little actress."
Dee Dee the dodo looked offended. She pecked at Pan's knee and hummed something that sounded like a funeral dirge. "This is the most beautiful place," Annabeth said. "It's better than any building ever designed."
"I'm glad you like it, dear," Pan said. "It is one of the last wild places. My realm above is gone, I'm afraid. Only pockets remain, tiny pieces of life. This one shall stay undisturbed for a little longer."
"My lord," Grover said, "please, you must come back with me. The elders will never believe it. They'll be overjoyed. You can save the wild." Pan placed his hand on Grover's head and ruffled his curly hair.
"You are so young, Grover. So good and true. I think I chose well."
"Chose?" Grover said. I don't understand." Pan's image flickered, momentarily turning to smoke. The giant guinea pigs scuttled under the bed with a terrified squeal. The woolly mammoth grunted nervously. Dee Dee stuck her head under her wing. Then Pan reformed.
I have slept many eons, the god said forlornly. My dreams have been dark. I wake fitfully, and each time my waking is shorter. We are near the end.
What? Grover cried. But no! You're right here!
My dear satyr, Pan said. I tried to tell the world 2,000 years ago. I announced it to Lysis, a satyr very much like you. He lived in Ephios, and he tried to spread the word.
Annabeth's eyes widened. The old story. A sailor passing by the coast of Ephesos heard a voice crying from the shore. Tell them the great god Pan is dead. But that wasn't true, Grover said.
Your kind never believed it, Pan said. You sweet, stubborn satyrs refuse to accept my passing. And I love you for that, but you only delayed the inevitable. You only prolonged my long, painful passing, my dark twilight sleep. It must end.
Oh! Grover's voice trembled.
Dear Grover, Pan said, you must accept the truth. Your companion, Nico, he understands.
Nico nodded slowly. He's dying. He should have died long ago. This is more like a memory. But gods can't die, Grover said.
They can fade, Pan said, when everything they stood for is gone. When they cease to have power and their sacred places disappear. The wild, my dear Grover, is so small now, so shattered that no god can save it. My realm is gone. That is why I need you to carry a message. You must go back to the council. You must tell the satyrs and the dryads and the other spirits of nature that the great god Pan is dead. Tell them of my passing, because they must stop waiting for me to save them. I cannot. The only salvation you must make yourself. Each of you must.
He stopped and frowned at the dodo bird, who had started humming again.
Didi, what are you doing? Pan demanded. Are you singing Kumbaya again?
Didi looked up innocently and blinked her yellow eyes.
Pan sighed. Everybody's a cynic. But as I was saying, my dear Grover, each of you must take up my calling.
But no, Grover whimpered.
Be strong, Pan said. You have found me, and now you must release me. You must carry on my spirit. It can no longer be carried by a god. It must be taken up by all of you.
Pan looked straight at me with his clear blue eyes, and I realized he wasn't just talking about the satyrs. He meant half-bloods, too, and humans. Everyone.
Percy Jackson," the god said. "I know what you have seen today. I know your doubts. But I give you this news. When the time comes, you will not be ruled by fear."
He turned to Annabeth.
"Daughter of Athena, your time is coming. You will play a great role, though it may not be the role you imagined."
Then he looked at Tyson.
"Master Cyclops, do not despair. Heroes rarely live up to our expectations. But you, Tyson, your name shall live among the Cyclopses for generations. And Miss Rachel Dare."
Rachel flinched when he said her name. She backed up like she was guilty of something, but Pan only smiled. He raised his hand in a blessing.
"I know you believe you cannot make amends," he said, "but you are just as important as your father."
Rachel faltered. A tear traced her cheek.
"I know you don't believe this now," Pan said, "but look for opportunities. They will come."
Finally, he turned back toward Grover.
"My dear satyr,"
Pan said kindly,
"will you carry my message?" I can't." "You can," Pan said. "You are the strongest and bravest. Your heart is true. You have believed in me more than anyone ever has, which is why you must bring the message, and why you must be the first to release me." "I don't want to." "I know," the god said, "but my name, Pan. Originally, it meant rustic. Did you know that? But over the years, it has come to mean all. The spirit of the wild must pass to all of you now. You must tell each one you meet. If you would find Pan, take up Pan's spirit. Remake the wild, a little at a time, each in your own corner of the world. You cannot wait for anyone else, even a god, to do that for you."
Grover wiped his eyes. Then, slowly, he stood. "I've spent my whole life looking for you. Now, I release you."
Pan smiled. "Thank you, dear satyr. My final blessing."
He closed his eyes, and the god dissolved. White mist divided into wisps of energy, but this kind of energy wasn't scary like the blue power I'd seen from Kronos. It filled the room. A curl of smoke went straight into my mouth, and Grover's and the others. But I think a little more of it went into Grover. The crystals dimmed. The animals gave us a sad look. Dee Dee, the dodo, sighed. Then they all turned gray and crumbled to dust. The vines withered, and we were alone in a dark cave with an empty bed. I switched on my flashlight. Grover took a deep breath. Are you okay?" I asked him. He looked older and sadder. He took his cap from Annabeth, brushed off the mud, and stuck it firmly on his curly head. "We should go now," he said, "and tell them. The great god Pan is dead." Banger scene!